Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's 12:15 on the 15th of June. It's the worst time to make videos, I guess, at high noon or right around that time. I guess the shadows are bad and all. The best time is always in the mornings or the evenings. I like the mornings, of course. So, the news. Well, first let me mention some of you saw my footage yesterday. I was in, where was I? Lida, and then we were by some place by Nova Grudok. I went on some sort of a tour thing. Really interesting house if you haven't seen that one. On the, what did I call that? Fantasy house or something like that. Yeah, if you don't like the castle sort of thing. It's a strange thing. You get a tour and you go to the castle. And most of it was supposed to be for the brewery, the Litskaya brewery, which was of course very nice. And they said also the castle, but you don't go inside the castle. Very strange. Tour was for outside. Let me get up this way first. And yeah, well, the beer thing was kind of fun, but it's very strange. I like Lidskaya Premium when it comes from the tap, but they were giving it to us out of a bottle. It was still fine, and some of the other things were fine, but it was nothing like you wanted to go. It's not, I guess we didn't go to taste the beer. I guess it was just mostly to go to that little museum there. Very interesting, even though I didn't understand much of anything. So I learned something. Okay, what else? Part of my footage on, which one was that? On the fantasy house. Part of it is upside down. So I just left it on there. I don't really care. Real professional, I gotta tell you. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. And yesterday, 14th, boy, all this stuff kicking off in the Middle East, I'll get to that. But it was also Donald Trump's birthday, and he had himself a nice parade. And the parade was, I don't know, I saw parts of it. You can't compare Trump's parade with the parades over here. Donald Trump's was, I guess, if I compliment it, I would call it completely lame. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. And the parades over here, like for example in Belarus, it's not as big as Russia. They don't have Red Square here. It's really spectacular in Red Square, but the parade even in Belarus is actually pretty damn good. And if you compare Belarus, a small country, much smaller military, all that, and the parade was far better than what the United States did. It was really, really, really lame. I just have to say that, the United States parade. So they're going to really have to do something if they want to. One of the things is they have to have better uniforms. At least in those parade uniforms that the Russians have and the Belarusians have. Even if they have those funny, big, huge hats, really big hats, which looks kind of ridiculous. But they march a lot better. The rest of the uniform looks better. The decorations, everything is much better than the American one. And the marching is much, much better. And of course the Chinese are really well too. The United States, I guess, as far as parades and things, they really, really need to work on it. And if you even want to talk about the military itself, soldiers and all that sort of a deal, they're nothing like it was in my time. I guess now, you're just coming out of this woke, garbagey sort of thing, and I don't know. The United States, I guess, has a long way to go. I think even our drill and ceremony, in other words, parades and things like that, that sort of thing was much better in our day. Because I remember seeing some things and I'm like, pretty impressive. We could do some impressive things, but I guess not anymore. So they can't even march. It's really sad, really sad. I don't know. Maybe Donald Trump thought of it on the spur of the moment, 250th birthday of the United States Army. So that's, maybe the next one will be better. They have to have a better location as well. Anyway, just sad. That's all I have to say about it. Sad, lame. Okay, let's see what else here. So we watch this stuff going on in the Middle East, and you have to ask yourself, well, how did we get here? How do we get to this sort of a thing with this war sort of a deal? And if you, I want to look at it in a different way than other people do. I want to look at it into the fact of it. It's just like what's going on in Ukraine. You have this indoctrination sort of a program going on. That was going on in Israel for a long, long time. I mean, you couldn't say the Jews or Israel. I don't know. Mostly the Jews, I would say, the Zionist Jews. And it's the same thing that goes on in Ukraine. It's an indoctrination to make people think that they're superior to other people. You're either the master race, which is pretty much Slava Ukraina and all that, glory to Ukraine and all that sort of a deal on that side, and God's chosen people on the other, the master race and the God's chosen people. Obama, he was trying to inject that in the exceptional people. Americans are the exceptional people, which in other words means everybody else on planet Earth is not exceptional. Only the Americans are exceptional. But that's a lot different than maybe, I think, at least in the wrong direction from what I was raised, and a lot of you that are Americans that are watching this. You know, we were told that we were supposed to be the most like generous and kind and helpful nation and all that. And but I'll tell you what, and I know this stuff because like I said, of who I worked for, types of people I've worked for, and the training that you get. There is a big problem in the United States. Like, first of all, they tell you, you're better, we're the greatest people, blah, blah, blah. And then you see a lot of how people act in the military, especially when they're in foreign countries like in Germany and all that, strutting about. It's sort of like a policeman in America, like they strut around and look for trouble to get into. A lot of it. It's not like policemen over here or not even in Germany, places like that. I don't understand what the American thing is all about. It's all about domination or something like that. But yeah, it's a kind of it's a sad thing, and I think one way they try to do this to Americans is because I experienced this myself, and some of you who have been in the military, you probably know about this yourself. It is like, we are so great, we're the greatest, we're the nicest people, so therefore everything we do is a great thing. Meaning, if we kill a whole bunch of innocent people, it is for the greater cause, because we're the greatest people, and it's for the cause of helping others to kill a bunch of people or something like that. I don't know. I kind of wonder. I don't know what's going on and why the United States, when you get raised one way, to think you're, humanistic type of a person, and then you, I don't know, go out. I was just reading about some of the massacres the United States did, like the one that was exposed in the WikiLeaks, when there's some guys and killing people, including children, and acting like it's a video game, and they're having great fun. And the Israelis, as you know, they've gone through a lot of indoctrination, and like Zelensky, he says that don't worry about killing Russians, because they're species, they're not human beings. And it's similar like what they say in Israel about Palestinians and all, and of course even more than just Palestinians. The goy, we're the goy, we're all the goy, and it's not even that they respect Jews themselves. Look at that kitty over there. Because I think there's something like you have some certain families, and if you're not descendant from some of these families, you're not a real Jew, you're not a real God's chosen people. I don't know. This is a bunch of sick crap. I'm better than you are, all this, and none of this stuff has any truth to it whatsoever anyway. You have flaws in culture, but nobody is born better, that your blood is better than the next person's blood. I don't know. Look at that guy. He's suspicious. I don't want to make him run. He looks so comfortable laying in the sun. Okay, let's keep going. Anyway, that's how we got here. And a lot of this, of course, is not just that arrogance, but it's the greed. You got the big business people, you got your politicians. It's all a bunch of greed. They want more power, they want more money, they want a comfortable life. You guys all know this sort of thing. It's almost like I don't even need to say this to you, but it's always good for somebody to be spelling it out, to remind you, what this is all about. And, Israel wants one thing they want is domination of the whole Middle East. They want to spread out. They want to make Eretz Israel much, much bigger. They want big portions of Syria. They want all of Lebanon. I think they even want part of Jordan. And Jordan is kind of, to a large extent, subservient to Israel at the moment. They will do what Israel wants them to do. I don't know. And they think maybe, I don't know, maybe it's that King Hussein. He's maybe a little bit delusional. Doesn't really know that there is a big master plan. It's a master plan for, and they'll wait 100 years until they can fulfill it if they want. You know, the United States doesn't have that. They have something, I guess, called the continuity of government, as you guys have heard at. And then they do have a plan. It's very strange. And I was thinking, Donald Trump's not really going to go along with that. I don't know. I really don't know. And it's like what that Jesse Ventura said. I've reminded you guys about that before. He said, you're the mayor, but we make all the decisions here. They took him in a back room after he became the mayor of Minnesota or something. But I'm singing to the choir. You guys know this stuff. It's good to get reminded, though. Okay, let's keep going. Just had to get that out. So, if you indoctrinate the people to such an extent, they are so absolutely certain that they are so much better and that these other people are inferior. And it's like, I'm sort of wondering if I was feeling like that, you know, when you grow up in the American school system and all that. And of course, a lot of these people, and I'll tell you what, for those people here that are watching from Belarus, I've even seen, I think, people from different countries that come to Belarus, and they made videos here, and they say that the people here are built, and it's not from your culture, it's not getting pushed into you, but that the people get some sort of a inferiority complex. And of course, it's a general thing anyway. I think even throughout the rest of Europe, and it makes you think, oh, I want to go to the United States. I want to be part of those people and all that. It's a very strange thing. You guys probably wonder, I'm so much into this philosophy sort of stuff, you know, and watching and observing and trying to see, you know, what is going on? Why do people think the way they think? I think a lot of you that watch my show, my channel, you're the same way, and it's always good. You know, you get I don't know, it's like we're like a club, I guess. Maybe that's why some of you, like maybe I think 40 of you, watch my show regularly within, I don't know, a day and a half, and talking about these philosophical things. This was pretty interesting, but you know, we have to try to understand the world we live in and why people think the way they do, and then you can figure out why they do the things that they do. So, okay. Yes. And so-called Christians, that's one thing as well. And a lot of you are going to disagree with me on this. Some of you probably, because let me tell you, it is not bad to be a Christian. It certainly is not, and it's not stupid. It is not stupid. There is a person that's named Jesus. He lived long ago, and he was something really extraordinary. There's no doubt about that. But I'll tell you what, a lot of these books and things, they were not written by God. They were not written by Jesus. You know, and it's like humans are fallible, and a lot of that stuff in there is probably not accurate at all. And if you come up and you say Jesus was a Jew, I'd kind of wonder, I thought Jesus was a Christian. I thought he was the first Christian. A Jew? Huh. Jesus probably would have not called himself a Jew, unless you want to say, oh, I don't even know. He's probably not even from Judea. He's, you know, I have no idea. I think that was kind of put in. You know, it's so easy. It's so easy to pay people, or to influence people, or to threaten people, make them do things that they would never really do. Look at what's going on today. The IAEA, what's his name? Gossi. He was somehow manipulated into saying that Iran is making nuclear weapons when there is no evidence. He doesn't provide any evidence. He comes out and he says this, and he says something about enriching uranium, I think to 60%, to a certain amount of that. Well, that's not weapons grade material. Weapons grade material has to be enriched up to 95%. He has no evidence, and there's no proof. So I guess Israel got to him, or somebody else, or Israel and somebody else. I mentioned that in another video. I don't know if anybody else is talking about this to you guys on here. I don't watch other videos that often, you know. It takes a lot of time to be sitting there, and I don't know. I don't like it when people are running around here. They're always so interested. So let's see what else. But I don't know. What is a Christian then? Do you believe in the teachings of Jesus, or somebody told me that I'm not a Christian, and I never even said to him that I never tried to say that I was. You know, and I don't know, am I or not? I don't know. It seems that like there's different definitions of being it. Do I want to be or do I not want to be? I don't really care. I really don't. I want to be a human. Somebody asked me, he said, what is my philosophy? Or no, what did they say? What is, they asked me something like that in one of my last videos, and I don't like to, myself, I don't know about you guys, I don't like to tie myself into some philosophy and say, I'm a Methodist, I'm a this, I'm a that. I'd rather, you know, find people, many people if I can, that I respect, and if there's some that are against, you know, certain tenets of what I would call humanity, your freedom of thought, freedom of a lot of different freedoms, as long as you don't hurt anybody, you're fine with me. And you know, that's what matters to me. Oh, guys with black shirts over there. I wonder what they are. You know, they're not the green shirts. Zelensky's green shirts. The advertisement of some truck. Meat house. Okay. The black shirts. I guess I'll walk down over in this guy. See if they beat me up or try to, maybe they're going to try to stick me in the Israeli army or something like that. Anyway. Okay, what else we got here? Yeah, Grossi is his name. He was manipulated. And who else? And it's even like Donald Trump. They say, oh, he's got somebody was manipulated, and of course, lots of people believed it, that Donald Trump was getting pissed on by Russian hookers in Moscow or something like that. I mean, you can come up with all kinds of stuff, and there's even stuff I've bought, I've believed, and it turned out not to be true. Got to be kind of careful. So, one thing that is true is that people are manipulative. Certain people, when they want to get something from you, you guys know. Okay. Chosen. Israel is chosen. Wait a second here. Okay, I got into this already. Another thing, Trump was trying to say he had nothing to do. Nothing to do. I didn't even know about this. I didn't know anything. I didn't know nothing to do. Well, then why did he say, one thing for example, is why did he say, I told Bibi not to do it. I told Netanyahu not to do it. And, well, he didn't know, but he told Netanyahu not to do it. Interesting. So, but anyway, Donald Trump probably, he definitely knew something was going to go. You know, I even know the news before that, it was all over the place. Everybody was saying, they're going to attack, it's imminent. But you know, how many times have you heard that? So you're thinking, well, man, that's not necessarily going to happen. That's what I was thinking. As a matter of fact, I think I even was saying that in a video. I said, it's not going to happen, you know, because that would be really stupid. But I guess in Netanyahu, because he's the guy in charge over there, and I guess what his thing goes. A lot of people are saying that he's doing this on purpose because he wants to prevent himself from standing trial or whatever. I think Israel has some law that if you're in a state of war, that you cannot put that guy on trial. Put the leader on trial. I don't know. Maybe a lot of countries have that. Okay. So the United States didn't know. Well, who refueled those airplanes? Who refueled? I mean, I don't think Israel has any of those. Who refueled those Israeli airplanes en route to Iran? What did they just out of the blue, just in one day's notice say, okay, we're going to refuel your airplanes while there's no way that the Israelis could do it unless they crashed them into the sea on the way back to Israel. They needed to be refueled. And of course it was American airplanes, refueling airplanes, that did it. Easily, easily. Who doesn't know that? What about the pinpointing these targets? Whose satellites did Israel? I don't know that Israel has that type of satellite. Hmm. Sounds kind of suspicious to me. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure about the satellite thing. Okay, Israel. One of the main and the worst things they did is they hit this South Pars gas field, and they hit something there, and it's just a huge amounts of probably natural gas being leaked out. I mean, burned up. Massive, massive fire. I think I read something that Iran has got it under control. I don't know if that's true. You never know. Like I said, you never know what's going on. The truth is, in the first casualty of any war is the truth. But what is his name? Oh boy, I can't ever say his name. Arangachi. Sounds like it's a Japanese guy. Arangachi is one of the ones, one of the people who said that there's evidence that the U.S. knew about this, besides what I just told you, other evidence that the United States knew about this attack beforehand. And one of the pieces of evidence is, apparently to a lot of people, and I kind of say, yeah, that's probably true, is 300, apparently, 300 Hellfire missiles were shipped to Israel, I think just days before this attack. They said, they even set the date, Tuesday, 300, around 300. And I even mentioned, but I mentioned I think right after the fact, and I could have done so right before, that there was like containers, and there was even people protesting. These Maersk, I think is the firm, the shipping firm, the container firm, whatever, that a lot of these containers that were arriving in Israel were filled with a lot of bombs, and it might even be those 300 Hellfire bombs that I just mentioned. But anyway, they were arriving before Israel. So in other words, absolutely yes, positively true. A lot of things were arriving in Israel right before this. So that's an undeniable fact. Too many people are reporting all this stuff already. Okay. And let's see, Netanyahu publicly stated he had everything planned for 6 months. And some people are saying that, and I don't know if this is true, that the Mossad had gotten, they started doing all of this planning 2 years in advance, and by that time, when Netanyahu said publicly, and he definitely did say that, he said that he was essentially ready 6 months before yesterday, before the day before yesterday when this attack started. And that's very strange because 6 months, what happened? Oh, Donald Trump became president then. Hey, and this guy named Duke in Belarus, he was putting out his theory that it was Israel that made him president of the United States, because obviously the deep state didn't do it. The deep state hates Donald Trump. Donald Trump needed somebody powerful. There's no way normally that you could ever become president of the United States unless you have the backing of the deep state. And Israel, it seems obvious if you guys are like me and you're watching the news all the time, that Israel is a separate entity, and maybe they work together sometimes with the deep state, but they have all these powerful entities, you know, people like that have some control of money. I'm not going to say that Israel has a lot of money, but Israel has a lot of control of money. It has a lot of control over the American taxpayers' money. It's very strange. You got all of these senators, and it's pretty well known. A lot of people are putting out that Benjamin Netanyahu has more influence over the United States government than Donald Trump does. And that seems very obvious too. Like I've even told you, and I keep repeating, you know, like a Israeli politician said, it's cheaper to buy a politician than it is to buy a tank, you know? So Israel actually, they know how to do this stuff. They know how to do this. And this money goes, it's not necessarily that it goes into the Israeli lobby, but maybe that's filtered through the Israeli lobby. And then Donald Trump, he said it also right there. He said, we give you $4 billion every year. And that's only the guaranteed $4 billion that they get every single year. And he said, congratulations to Benjamin Netanyahu. That was just a couple months ago. And but Israel, I think in this past year they got over $10 billion with a B. Incredible, incredible. So what are they doing with all that? I don't know. Is that part of that? Is that maybe in the value of weapons, or is that just money? But obviously Israel would not exist without the money from the United States. And a lot of Israelis, they say, oh no, that's not true, because we own this business, we own this big business, we own all of this. A lot of this is all through manipulation and things. And it's like us poor dumb sucker goy that are just having the money. I'm not even against Jews, I'm really not. But all this money flowing out of our pockets, you know? I don't know. Too many weak people, I guess. And you hear about this Epstein. You know what was going on? They lure these people here, these prominent people, politicians, royal members of families, business people, and this is how the game is done. And they give them what they want. They give them sex with these young girls. And a lot of you out there, I'm actually glad I'm not one of them. I'm not really attracted to young girls, like underage, in other words, or otherwise. It's like, anyway, most men are, apparently, and I meet a lot of them. And but I don't think they would do anything with these real underage ones. But when they're rich people, they have they get more of what they want, I guess. I don't know. That's like I said, I'm not going to go into their personal psychology, but you guys know what I'm getting at. And Epstein, and I guess they were recording a lot of this stuff, and I don't know. So Epstein killed himself because I tell you what, I don't know if we'll ever know, or maybe it'll be past my lifetime when the real truth comes out. Do they have evidence? Probably not. Probably evidence is destroyed, very easily destroyed. What do you think? The FBI, those people, there are probably still a lot of them in the FBI. It's not, I like Kash Patel, but I'll tell you what, a lot of these people in the FBI, they're still the deep state. How can you get all these people out? Anyway, I tell you what, it's so bad in the West. It makes me so glad to be in Belarus. I'm sure they got some things going on over here too, but I tell you, it's nothing on the scale over there, and it's probably of a different measure. And the leader of this country, and even Vladimir Putin, see, like I said, I don't know much about their certain things about them, but it's pretty obvious they care about their country more than they care about themselves. So I mean, sure, they don't want to go die, and they don't. I don't know, but I tell you what, those people over there in the West, I feel sorry for everybody over there, because those politicians, people running the show, and all this, they care far, far more about themselves than they care about their country or their people, or even doing the right thing. So, and just say no more, say no more. Okay. So, anyway, it's kind of way too many indications that the United States was very much involved in that. A lot of people are saying this. There's I think I'll get to that in a bit here. Anyway, well, let me just keep going what I wrote here. Okay, there's this years ago, this politician, Zhirinovsky, and I guess he was saying a lot of things, and sometimes people back in those days were kind of thinking the guy's a bit kind of crazy, and then like anybody that makes any prognosis of things of what's going to happen in the future, but it seems like this guy, it's very, very, very strange, because he seems to have been right most always. I don't know if he was ever wrong, to be honest with you. But he was saying something about Israel attacking anything that they think is nuclear. Somebody put this up on the internet already. Him giving some speech saying, and I think they were talking even specifically about Iran. And he said, he think this World War III or whatever. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think he might have said that World War III is going to start there in the Middle East. So, and here all of us are looking at Ukraine and Russia, but who knows? I don't know exactly what he said. I guess it would be pretty good to find some sort of a video if somebody made one, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe he's a modern day, what was that guy's name? Nostradamus. Even though Nostradamus, he talked in riddles. So, but to a certain extent, so did Jesus, if you think about that, you know? He didn't really talk in riddles, but he talked in I don't even know what to call that language. Like, know them by their fruits. And it's not like you're going to go and say, well, do you have a cherry tree? Do you have an apple tree? I want to see your fruits, buddy. No, I mean, it was very much understood. And I guess the way Jesus said things is like, you can't be misinterpreted into any other, being lost in translation from one language to the next. I think he spoke it in such a way as that you can put it into any language and it has the same meaning. That's one thing that I really liked about Jesus, how he said things. And then, but you have to try to figure out what did he really say and what was added or falsified maybe in the Bible. And sometimes your own conscience, you can find out yourself. And often you got to look at if, you know, does somebody win something? Does somebody else get something? If Jesus said some certain thing, like, I don't know, something about Judaism or something like that. If somebody else is going to be a winner somewhere, then I think you got to be suspect. So that's what I'm getting at. Okay, what else here? Israel, they've assassinated. They think it's so great, and I think probably Trump does too, because Trump did Soleimani some years ago. But Israel assassinated all the top brass of the military. They've been really doing their homework. And they've assassinated some of the top scientists in the past, nuclear scientists and whatever. And I guess these past days they've assassinated nine of other top nuclear scientists. Jeez. Israel has a long, successful history of assassinations. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay. Michael Maloof, political analyst. I think he was with the Pentagon in the past. And he's the same guy. He was the guy I actually wanted to tell you guys that said that Bibi Netanyahu has much more control in the United States government than Donald Trump does. Boy, I tell you, the United States has to find a different way to fix their system over there. You got George Soros buying all these people in the legal business. You know, I don't know. Like I said, it's like I'm sitting here watching this. It's like watching a movie, what's going on in the West. But of course, it affects us over here because you never know what the West is going to be pulling on Belarus, just like it's pulling on Iran right now. And a lot of the people that I know, I'll tell you what, they would believe anything that comes from Iran or Russia or Belarus 100 times more than they would believe anything that's coming from the West, from a bunch of those friggin' greedy, arrogant liars over there. Jeez. Say no more. Okay. Maloof believes that the United States is going to get dragged in even more so. And, you know, for the moment, Donald Trump says he's not going to get in. Yeah, just like he said, this and that. I don't believe anything. I don't know. I don't even know what capabilities Iran has, because Israel seems to be doing pretty good, with the help of the United States, by the way, and the UK, of targeting things inside of Israel. I think that's pretty obvious to me. Probably to you guys too. Professor Mohammed Randi, that's what I also wanted to talk about. He's a former Iranian negotiator. He's a professor in Tehran and speaks good English, you know. He's on a lot of shows and things. A lot of us that watch alternative news, us that like the truth instead of the crap, you know, coming from CNBC or any of these other places. But anyway, he says not only the U.S. but the UK helped. Everybody is saying that. And then Trump, like bragging. Who was it? George Galloway. He made a little teaser video, and I guess talking about Sunday, which was tonight. His Mother of All talk show programs, I guess, today. He said everybody should not miss it. because it's going to be a very big one, mother of all talk shows. And he's talking about um, the United States and Israel laughing at Iran, saying, oh, they're going to have this over very soon. They're going to obliterate Iran. And he said they were laughing at them. And Donald Trump, of course, saying how successful. It makes you like, is he supposed to be a negotiator? Donald Trump, he's supposed to be the peace president. And he is sitting here cheering and celebrating. That's what was bothering Arangachi, this or whatever the guy's name is, the guy that's the foreign minister of Iran, of why they should be doing negotiations with the United States for these nuclear deals, is because, it looks like the United States, they're celebrating this attack on Iran. This is, I can understand what they're getting at, and they're probably starting to ask, well, what's the point? And really, what is the point? What is the point? Iran has said, this is what we're going to want. This is what we want. We're not going to move from that. We are not going to make nuclear weapons. You can do all you want to check to make sure we're not making nuclear weapons, but we want our rights to enrichment. Donald Trump says no enrichment, no enrichment, even though it's written in the United Nations Charter that every country has a right for nuclear energy production, and but not Iran. Because we tell you what you can and cannot do. When we tell you to jump, the only thing you're allowed to ask is how high. As a matter of fact, we don't even let you do that. You better jump. Because we're the United States. America first, baby. What a difference. We're looking at a multipolar world and a hegemonic world. And the United States controls everybody, even all of their puppets. And their willing puppets are willing to get on their knees and do the circus seal on Donald Trump or whoever the president's going to be. Wow. But I tell you what, you Belarusian people, if you're watching this, you better be proud of the leader that you have. He's not going to get on his knees in front of anybody. So, just saying, I respect that. I don't respect Macron or Starmer. One day they're talking tough about Donald Trump, and the next day they're on their knees in front of him, just like Vladimir Putin said. What did he say? They'll be all kneeling before Donald Trump and wagging their tails before no time. Wagging their tails or have their mouths open. Maybe both. I have no. Maybe it's a different tail that they're talking about. Anyway, so Russia handed over another 1,200 bodies, so I guess just in the past days, just the past days, they've handed over 24,000 bodies. They've kept them refrigerated of Ukrainian soldiers that have fallen, and that Russia has been able to get their bodies. And Ukraine has handed to Russia zero. I think the entire war probably. And this is just with what Russia has done just in the past hours. But they're the bad guys, And I'll tell you what, Ukraine, they don't even care about their own dead. You hear a lot of this thing. A lot of witnesses. They come over, and a lot of them, the captured soldiers, and they said that they are told they just dig a trench and they throw all of the dead bodies of their soldiers in there, and the commander of that unit keeps on getting the pay, and they split the pay up between themselves as if the person never died. And a missing person is not a dead person. A missing person is a missing person. So, that's terrible. So you cannot have a funeral, and you cannot know the whereabouts of whatever happened to your sons or your fathers. But they're the good guys. Jeez. Okay, the USA and the UK are moving more ships and more planes to the Mideast. Geez, I wonder why. But of course they're going to be out of range of whatever they believe Iran has any capabilities of using. And you have to remember, Iran does have a lot of these small submarines, but I don't think any of them are capable of firing off any missiles. So it's not like they have anything to fear. What about torpedoes? I have no idea. And there's a rumor, and I just say it's a rumor, that Pakistan, threatens to use nukes on Israel if Israel uses nukes on Iran. And I tell you what, if it looks like Iran is going to get the upper hand, I would not doubt for 1 minute that Israel would not use nukes. And as you all know, and you've seen this, and it's going over and over, just exactly like this attack, Israel can do anything they want to do. The United States can do anything they want to do. Anything they want, anything. And some of maybe the other allies, maybe they might get their, finger swatted a little bit, like Great Britain or whatever, I don't know. But Israel does anything they want to do. Anything and everything. Assassinations, everything. Nobody bats an eye. Okay. One other thing that, besides the South Pars gas field, Israel also bombed a car factory in Iran. Oh, they bombing a lot of things, not just those two things. And as you know, apartment buildings and all that stuff. And they told all people, I guess some of these higher commanders in the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF, I guess they're sending out messages and telling everybody to revolt, everybody in Iran to revolt, and that they're under some impression that the entire country doesn't like the leadership there, which I'm positive is not the truth. And they told all people making weapons to leave the factories, or they may get killed, because Israel is going to do massive attacks on any kind of weapons factories. And of course, both sides are kind of talking about a lot of big attacks. And Israel, of course, like I said, they got those big Hellfire missiles, and it's kind of becoming very well known after you see what went on in Gaza, where it has been said that Israel dropped more bombs on Gaza than was dropped in the entirety of World War II, just on Gaza alone. It's incredible, and it makes you really wonder, the United States, do you think they help Israel? Donald Trump says, oh no. And they continue to get more bombs. And that was just Gaza. And of course, they bombed the crap out of Lebanon, they bombed the crap out of Yemen, they bombed the crap out of Syria, and now they're bombing Israel. I mean, Iran, where do they get all these friggin' weapons? And these things just keep coming endlessly from the United States. Maybe that's why, I think it was Haifa, Iran had targeted, I guess it was last night, the port of Haifa, and that's probably where a lot of these things are coming in. I'm not too sure, but a lot of this is coming in obviously by air, helicopters and things also, not just by containers. Maybe it's going to stop by container now. And Aragachi himself, he says he does not believe Trump. Did not know. He says that Iran has solid evidence that U.S. bases assisted in this. Like I just said about the refueling. No doubt about that. Okay. And he said that Trump's involvement is also proved by his statements. Yeah, that's true too. I've said that as well. And Aragachi or whatever, also he said the United Nations Security Council is completely indifferent concerning the strikes. They don't give a rat's backside. It's just like all of the stuff that Russia comes to the United Nations Security Council and it proves that they're using chemical weapons illegal chemical weapons against Russian soldiers in Ukraine and all sorts of violations. The UN Security Council says, we got better things to do, get out of here. We don't care about any laws that are broken when it's against you. If you did it against them, then we're going to address it. But if something is done to you, you're just friggin' Russians. You're a species. Zelensky told us that. So you guys are just species. And what are the Palestinians and the Iranians and all that thing? They're just cockroaches, I guess. Whatever the Israel, they're goy. Like the rest of us are all goy too, I guess, concerning to Israel. But our turn is next. No, I don't know. They need somebody to take advantage of. So I think us goy are going to be around a while, but of course they need to destroy everything they can in the Middle East, and take over big portions of it to make Eretz Israel and enslave or dummy down all the rest of them, put them back into the Stone Age so that they can remain the masters of the Middle East. Yeah. And during all of this, poor Zelensky. Oh, he's crying over there, I guess, because all the attention is off of him, and I don't know, he's afraid that they're not going to love him anymore. So, I don't know. He needs to get that money coming. I don't know. He's got a couple. He made some deal with Belgium, remember, that they're going to get, I don't know how many, 1 billion, 2 billion. I don't know how much he gets every year guaranteed. I think it's 1 billion. I don't know if it was 1 billion in weapons. But it's really strange, It makes you wonder why us people, and there is some of us, and of course we're always going to be looked at as the bad guys. You see these people that are protesting and all that, and you're the bad guy if you don't like to see Palestinians getting massacred by Israel, So my heart goes out to those people that are protesting in favor of Palestine. Even Greta Thunberg, she's a little bit messed up, big time, with this climate kind of stuff. She's, I don't know, maybe she's started to realize that a lot of this stuff is a big hoax. And I'm not saying there is no climate change. There certainly is climate change. And I think they do have ways that they can tweak the weather. There is, certain, I don't know about this thing, what they talked about in, what's that thing in Alaska? HARP? I don't know. Apparently that's abandoned. I don't know. And then Nikola Tesla said, I think it's above the I don't know, in the stratosphere. No, the troposphere. We're in the troposphere. I don't know what he said. Some sort of a place where there's a lot of energy and you can actually mess around with the weather and all that. But they defunded him. They defunded Nikola Tesla back in those old days because he was out for people. He was a people person, maybe like those of us on this channel. And those are the people, I don't know, maybe we're not the useless eaters, but we're the ones that they're afraid of. So anyway, that's about all I have to say for today. And sorry about my very professional videos yesterday. I'm just kind of filming stuff, and I'm too lazy to sit around there for hours and hours. I don't get paid for this. So I'm just making these videos and putting them up there for a lot of you guys to watch, and you'll know that, what do they have this in some of these movies, whenever the world is attacked by zombies all over the place, and then there's some place that everybody tries to go to where there isn't any zombies, there's no viruses or something like that. Well, that's probably an analogy of Belarus. So anyway, that's about all I have to say for today. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.